Howdys and salutations, y'all. Sorry for the slightly late start. Turns out dinner prep took a wee bit longer than I expected, but that's the way of it. Regardless, we are here now and here to get started. Got an interesting one today. We'll see how it turns out. Like I mentioned, because it took a little while to get dinner ready, I unfortunately haven't got the links set up yet, so I'm just going to have to manually pull them up real quick. But there's another comic I follow, a fun one, although I guess very, very minor, maybe gore is the word for it. Minor warning on that. If you're not comfortable with that, maybe steer clear for a little bit. But it's a wonderful comic called Daughter of the Lilies. Quite fun. And they have reached out, not to me specifically, but to everyone. Let me pull it up. That they're having to take a little bit of a hiatus and they're looking for some fan art to fill the void. So, I figure, why not jump in on that and see if we can't give them a little bit of a hand. And, you know, I don't know if our art's going to be good enough for that yet or not, but the only way to get better at it is to keep on stinking doing it. So, we're going to have a go at it. I'm currently looking for a good ref of one of the characters to draw. Because, let's see. Yes, okay, so I'm looking for a good ref for Thistle. Thistle's a blast. Very fun. I've just got to find... And again, like, unfortunately, this week prep time has been a little bit short on... not the most available right now. So, let's see. I need to find a good reference, and then I can pull it up on here. And then we'll get right on into it. We should try to think about a good, I don't know, perhaps pose, perhaps scene. Lots to think about that a little bit. So Thistle, in case the name wasn't clear, is a bit of a mage. I won't go into, again, I try not to spoil anything because I encourage y'all to read the comics and go check them out. They're an absolute blast. So I won't spoil a thing. But, basically, we need to think about a good pose with the mage skills, which amongst other things involve a lot of plant growth. The name Thistle might have given that away. So we'll just have to think about some good posing and such for that. And I'll have to think about... Well, mainly, let's see if we can't find a good reference image for Thistle. Ah, okay, this'll do. Okay, let's see. This is page 329. Okay. 329. We'll jump in on this one. And just to give a little bit of a show, and once again, recommend the comic highly. Oh, that's an ad for another comic, also a fun one, but different. So we'll just get this a little bit. So this will be our reference image. Thistle is our character here in the center. In case that wasn't obvious. Also, one of these days we're going to have to talk about composition, because this page has some phenomenal composition. Good arc of motion for Thistle across the panels, even literally across the panels in this case. While still making it clear exactly where Thistle is through the whole thing. It's fun. But I won't dig into that, because I am certainly not qualified to speak in a great deal of detail on it. Yet, maybe ever, but hopefully just yet. So let's try to think of a fun scene for Thistle. And a fun bit of scenery for Thistle. I like the plant growth in this one. So yeah, let's see if we can't... I guess I can set this up as another one of those art overlay... Nope, not art overlay. We learned the hard way. That art overlay is not what I think it is. That is the entire actual overlay. If I get rid of art overlay, that all vanishes and you get to see my desktop. Exciting. But nope, it's gone again. Let's find our actual reference image. I know there's a way to add a URL in here, or browser source. That may be it. Okay. I have no idea if this is gonna work. Hey, there we go. Can y'all see that? I feel like maybe you can't. Maybe it needs to be... Let's see, that's clearly not visible anywhere. Where did it go? Solid start to the stream today, I know. Still going better than yesterday, though. So let's see if we can't fix that. Let's add a new browser. Pop this in here. Okay. Y'all see that? I have to assume you maybe can. It looks like you can, unless I've just set this over top of it, and I can't scroll within it. Oh good, an ad for exploring the coast. Exciting times. Okay, but we'll hold off on that for now. Let's... Option B. Instead of going through that hassle, I'm just going to take a second. And we're just going to save this image here. And we're just going to do this the old-fashioned way. Here, this one, that. And then we'll just toss that. And boom! Okay, here we go. An actual proper reference image. So, thinking about this, what's the most useful ref one to have? That maybe sizing this down a wee bit, perhaps? One of these days we'll actually use the Clip Studio's built-in reference image tool. I'm hoping to get that set up tomorrow so that we can use it on Thursday, which, by the way, will be the 1-month anniversary of us doing this stream. That's pretty exciting. So let's get this image here. Good, it's got Megsiv, the artists, right there. And Yoko's name, those aren't super visible though. Yoko Weaver. Is that readable? Y'all don't have to answer. You're welcome to say as much or as little as you want in this chat. I ain't your homeroom teacher. I'm not going to call on you to answer. Feel free to lurk, whatever you like to do. But this will do for our reference image, and I'll try to keep the canvas itself on this side a little more centered this way so that we can all see it. So these are the requested dimensions they were using, and again, there's no shame, no real expectation of this actually being featured on the comic. They've got many great fans who are wonderful artists. But I want to submit it. A, it's good practice. B, it's, you know, technically good exposure to share the art. But also, I want to support them. It's a fun comic. I want to throw something out there. So, step one, I think, is let's think about what we want to depict here. What scene or action do we want to show? Obviously, like in this scene, Thistle's looking a bit nervous for reasons that do make sense, I promise. But you've got to go read the comic to actually figure them out. Let's see. Some mistakes were made there. Okay, let's see if we can't find a good reference for like some posing ideas. So I'll just describe characteristics at early days of the comic, because obviously character grows and characters change, so we won't go into details there. Thistle's definitely shy and timid, never takes off the cloak, but still very competent at her magic. Very skilled at what she does. So, and generally tries to do the right thing, as you may see if you go, once again, read the comic. It's a wonderful comic. But, thinking about the situations we want to put Thistle in, if they're shy, maybe we want to lean into that and put an awkward situation, but not, like, uncomfortable. You don't want to draw someone else's character in a situation that make the author uncomfortable, of course. So thinking about maybe just some basic composition. Maybe. Okay. Interesting scene. Maybe one where she's a little stressed out and overwhelmed, leaning against a wall. Good approach to it. Let's see. Okay. Let's let's find ourselves a little bit of a medieval wall, let's say. Not too medieval. The actual comic world is fairly well developed. So I don't want to go and lean in on perhaps an old rundown town necessarily. If anything, it's kind of more Renaissance-y with the magic and everything going on around it. Interesting times. It's a fun comic. But I'll stop rambling on about how it's a fun comic, and we'll actually try to draw said fun comic, or at least fan art of said fun comic. So let's get a bit of a background just thrown in here. Just something loose, a world for the character to live in. And we talked a little bit about perspective last time, so I won't lean into that too much, but well, I use it for, you gotta use it for the backgrounds. Okay, so if we're thinking, if we want to accent Thistle's location, then the wall should really be off to one side, theoretically. I'm overthinking this. Alright, rule of thirds it roughly, bottom corner here. Crikey, am I really using green for this? Let's get a slightly softer color for this. Let's go back to the color wheel. It's a little easier to navigate, perhaps. An old beige wall. Those always do well enough. Kind of like cartoony, bendy walls myself. We'll see if that works. We may straighten it out if we need to. We can put, perhaps... If I put a bench there, it wouldn't make sense to lean against the wall if you're frustrated because you just sit in the bench. Maybe a planter pot or something of that nature. Once again, just like a little bit. I don't want to lean into scenery too much until we got our character in here. But we could at least get some of the greenery and thistles that way. Put in the environment, maybe we can figure out a way for Thistle to interact with it later. And the beauty of the vector layer means we can just toss those. So if this is a planter box, we could maybe even have, like, what's the word for it? A trellis. Trellises are fun. And then Thistle wouldn't need to be in an ominous location. Maybe Thistle's just tending to the trellis. This very loose approximation of a bendy trellis on a bendy wall, mind. Let's see, gotta make sure that these are all pointing in the same direction, roughly. So we've got a horizon line somewhere around. If we do a high horizon line, we'll be pretty high up. So maybe we don't want that. Let's go for like kind of a reasonably low ground one. If we're gonna do an optimistic image, let's do kind of a lower horizon line, preferably a straight-ish one, mind. Every single time this one comes on, I think that it's a certain song, and it ain't. I really like Eterna Forest, and this one's just not actually that song. It's a good song, mind, but it ain't Eterna Forest. Let's see. That is far too close of a point for the wall at large. Makes a little bit of sense for the planter box. But, I need to think about what I'm doing with this scene's layout real quick. If sort of, whoops, let's not be in eraser mode when we're plotting things out, mind. If we sort of got this, yeah, maybe that's the way to do it. Hang on, so we've got these ones going like that, and we've got this one going like this. Maybe that puts our vanishing point somewhere way over here. I'm kind of okay with that. Does mean we'll have a fairly high horizon line, but I think that's actually okay. Puts us kind of at a city plaza level. Could have a little bit of green landscape over that way, maybe a park of sorts. That would make sense, too, if she was sort of in a little bit of an alleyway hiding out of the way early on in the comic. Green of the trellis, but, not necessarily being comfortable being all the way out in the park. And for the record, there's a lot more to it than just shyness. It's not just like generic shy character. This'le's a fun character. Probably the reason I actually stayed with the comic, because it's a little grimmer than what I'd typically do. It's not necessarily my kind of comic, if you're doing terms of grimness, but the characters are so fun and the story is so good that like you get sucked into it anyway. And I say that, I mean I played Dark Souls, so clearly I've got some amount of tolerance for grimdark. And this isn't anywhere near that. It's very different style, very cool style. Let's see. Okay. That's enough scene building, methinks. We can sort of have our plaza. We can have another vanishing point over there if we really must. I mean, that kind of makes the plaza almost ominously large. Let's make our vanishing point somewhere further away, mayhap somewhere over there. We'll just kind of rough it in with this. It's becoming increasingly obvious why we haven't done a lot of scenes of late, isn't it? Because I spend like a week figuring out where everything needs to go. Okay. So you can sort of have like a... Wow, come on, circle. Close enough. A little bit of a plaza there. Again, we don't want this to be a focal point, so I really shouldn't be putting it right at the other focal point of the scene. We need Thistle to sort of be in front, so this might get shifted further out over there or something. That's almost an arrow. There we go, arrow. Okay. So we've sort of thought about location then. At least a little bit. And sort of maybe have a wall over there. Edge of a park. Maybe we'll put people over there, maybe we won't, who knows. But, now that we've got some of this stuff lined up, we can sort of think about trellis and we can think about character location. So again, I want Thistle to be clearly sort of in this alleyway-ish, but not too far out of it either. Ominously, I've just sort of gone in on this without a lot of prep, so we're just doing composition as we go, which is not the recommended way to do composition, mind. But it is a way to do composition, and it's the one that we're going to do. So, let's see, we're at 22 minutes. Let's start actually getting like a character pose in. Based on our reference, which we got over here, I'm thinking kind of maybe like crouching down with the plants. Of course, I've got us at a bit of an angle where Thistle might be facing away from us, which is a rather unwise way to do a character drawing, I've got to say. So let's think about ways... Okay. Trying to think about ways to make that work. We could redo some of the composition. I don't want to waste too much time on that at this point. Because again, next time is Thursday, which is our 1-month anniversary, and while that's not a huge landmark, it's, you know, something. And so I've got a special plan for it. And I don't know how long they're gonna... I mean, they'll probably still accept stuff afterwards, but they might not need it at that point, and then it's just more work for them to look through it all. I don't want to burden people with fan art. I want it to be something that folks can actually enjoy at least a little bit. So, we'll have to think about this a little. Let's throw on a new layer for composition, maybe, or for character posing. Posing's the word I'm looking for. So let's think about... Maybe we put Thistle out in the park a little more. It doesn't... Crouched at the corner, but the corner's kind of out of way. Maybe. This will be bad for the perspective, but I shouldn't have gone so all in on that when I was just blocking in locations and such, should I? This is my own darn fault. Let's try something. Let's grab our selector. And this is a lovely song. Sounds like it's from the Wii or something. Let's see for a second. Bob-ombs and Courage from Origami World. Okay, cool. Would not have guessed that. But there is, though. But the object, here, object to transform is here. I made it. It object. I'm on wrong layer. No wonder. There we go. So instead of putting the corner of the wall there, maybe let's scoot it a little further out of the way and put Thistle in this prominent location. Wall can be sort of off to the side, maybe even down a little bit. That way Thistle can crouch down to it and still be in the right spot. And we use up some of this open space we've got sitting here at the bottom. Ah, nope. That's an interesting layout, but not the one that we're going for, I don't think. Let's save. Let's pencil in a little more. So once again, perspective lines, kind of okay. Kind of okay. Okay enough that it won't matter much. And sort of imply more trellis on the other side too. We want a little bit of vines coming off of them. So I'm thinking we're gonna try to put willow. What am I talking about? Thistle here. We'll pop thistle right in this location, and we'll see how we can do with that. So, rather than just leaving a big circle, I'm gonna zoom out a tiny bit to make sure our rule of thirds still makes some amount of sense. Yeah, so center point there, thistle location. Maybe we can even populate some stuff here. We'll add a little more context if we need to, but right now let's focus on the actual focal point of the scene and not all of the backgrounds. Backgrounds are fun, but you can spend all of your time doing them, and that's not actually helpful. So, thinking about thistle. Thistle, okay. Once again, I'll do our sort of like, it doesn't make much of a difference on this beige, does it? Well, it doesn't when I'm on the wrong layer. There we go. Just keep that as sort of a loose suggestion of background. And let's think about where thistle is. Fortunately, our ref has a lot of semi-crouching position, so this should actually be a little bit easier. We could sort of, like one leg on that side maybe. Might be too far down with this one. Because you've got to have space for the knee and the foot and all. Kind of crouching over it. Or maybe not crouching fully over it, like not quite as hunched, I don't think. Okay, gotta think about both arms, because we've got to have a pose that makes sense. We're thinking rough terms. Reaching down to look at it. You want to just have both arms scooping it up? Do I want one arm sort of like on the ground stabilizing? Looking down at it, mayhaps. I think that makes some amount of sense. Let's have this one sort of out back, behind the body maybe. We'll think about proportion stuff down. Maybe we do need like a little more hunch. As an art, you've always kind of got to exaggerate the poses to actually make them look more real. When you draw it perfectly naturalistic, a lot of the times everything is very subtle and understated, which is great, but it's not really what we're going for with what I'm doing. Maybe we like have her bringing some of it up. Some of the vines and such that are in here. Vines. We can, you know, do the obvious symbolic thistle. Well, not just have random green lines and junk. So, let's see. I don't know, 30 minutes in and we've at least got posing and stuff. That's not the worst. I'm worried I've picked the posing a little too soon. And there's one thing I'm going to have to fix on it real quick. You don't want to find out you dislike your pose halfway through it, so let's at least make sure that we're fixing what we can first. If they're leaning back on this arm, they're leaning back on the arm. They're going to be tilted a little further on this side. And this horrible mess of lines is going to have to be replaced by something that's actually visually readable. Okay, so that still puts us with thistle facing away from us, though. Can we curve it a little? Okay. Oh. There's that. That could work better, but we have the supporting arm on this side. That means the body twists towards the viewer. Okay, let's try that. Let's try that. Sorry, I wasn't narrating my thoughts aloud there. I was just trying to get the pose in a little bit. And I'm still sort of at the trial and error phase of really getting good pose designs without references and such. Okay, so center line of body, still fairly strong. We could even have it looking more upwards like that original one too. thinking about other things, perhaps. Still the one leg up. But now, this hand can even sort of be, like, in a more restful pose. It can sort of be resting on the knee, holding the thistles, while the other hand is casually supporting back here. Even kind of implies you might maybe do, like, slightly lower knee on this end, too. Instead of being like a squat that takes active energy, it's more of a, like, half kneel, which does not take nearly so much. Okay. But I don't want it to interfere with the clarity of the arm. If it interferes with the clarity on the stick figure, it'll probably interfere on the final thing too, when you've got all the other details adding as distractions. So let's make sure that's as clear as it can be now. Sort of clarify some of this stuff. Okay. Don't need straight lines. Okay. Not bad. The head's too high up. We can fix that. We'll stick with the sort of crouched head a little bit. Okay, we got at least a pose. Let's see if we can't sort of get Thistle drawn in here roughly with some line work. And I'm not gonna aim for like my specific style necessarily. I know we've done a lot of the intentional stylized work with some of the stuff we drew of Salt, and then some of the art fight drawings. This one we are going to try to stick just letting it happen. I'm not trying to do a style. I'm just gonna try to see if I can draw it. And if it looks too much like the original, like I'm just copying, I'll see what I can do to avoid that. I doubt that's gonna be the case though. Like, I can mimic styles fairly well, but they're, like, if you're not trying to, it's not easy to accidentally do it. Okay, so we've got poses. Now let's see if we can actually get Thistle drawn in here. Let's see. Do I sketch it out, or do I just try to go for broad forms? Let's try it. We'll try it once. We are not going to burn too much time on it. Shoulders, a little bit. We've got kind of the torso forms. Getting out around here. Nope, that's too narrow there, especially at this 3/4 view. We'll kind of have the cloak going out and around. We'll get obviously more detail on the cloak as it flows off of that leg too. It's not so much of a cloak as a tunic, really, is it? No matter. I've actually found a very interesting book on actual traditional medieval attire and ways to recreate it and such, which is not useful in this case, but it's helped me learn some terminology a wee bit better than I'd had before. Okay, and then thinking about sort of the hood, clearly kind of a floppy hood going out, and then running back into the back there. The hood itself doesn't, like, in terms of character design, actually obscure all that much of her face. A lot of it is the mask and then just the shadow it clearly casts. So we've got to make sure it comes out at least far enough to be casting that shadow. And it looks, in all of these images, because the way she's holding it has got kind of the point forward, we'll have to think if that would, like, wilt a little bit or not. Although I think to some extent, yeah, it doesn't always pop up. Sometimes it's down in other pages. Maybe we could do something like that. Head's getting a little... Maybe we save, like, a little. Maybe we don't do that, though. We'll start with this, and we'll see where it goes. Oh, right, this ain't a raster layer. Okay, it's time. Experimental, but it's time. We'll call this blocking forms, because that's basically what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to block in the actual forms here a little bit, which I shouldn't be doing hood detail yet, for the record on that. So that all of this floppiness is probably a bad idea to be including yet. I'm on the race select, aren't I? Whatever. That's fine. We'll clear up a little here. We've got tunic. We'll clear up a little there. Because we're kind of in 3/4 view, so we'll have it be a little more, trying to get the form in here not too distinct or anything. Okay, anyway, so we've got that one. I'm gonna do like a kind of Looking at the pants, they're more of a reddish, like almost a clay color. It's a fun color. Kind of Adobe looking. Not the company Adobe, mind. Doesn't look anything like Photoshop. Okay. Pants form, a little bit baggy, not crazy much. We got kind of, I don't know, pants form in here. Tunic's covering most of the detail in that regard. Oh, actually, it doesn't go all the way. Oh, okay, boots. Okay. Then, actually, let's toss a lot of this lower section of this. Even though the boots are a similar color, I do think that I'm going to want to think about them in a different way. We got like a little bit of the flare out there, just try to get that loosely. And then with this one, we'll see if the tunic covers everything or not. I'll sort of have to think about that when I'm doing a more detailed approach. Once again, pants just going to have the wrinkles, and then really going to flare out more like here, best as it can. Grab erase select a little bit, clear out some of this. Fill that as well. Let's see which parts of this look wrong, because some parts of it already do. Let's see, if this tunic is supposed to be over that leg, then let's actually make it so. And yeah, I'm thinking the tunic on this side is going to obscure anything in the front, so let's just clear some of this out at least, because that doesn't need to be there. I guess you'd probably still have, like, I don't know, the shape there from the tension between legs. Color. Oh, nope, that's not the color. Color picker. Oh, is it specific? Nope, okay. Okay. Got that back in. We'll do like a little bit more tunic color just to fix this up a little bit. Because again, I'm not trying to get too much detail, but I do want to make sure shapes are roughly right relative to each other. So then, if we're on color picker, let's take this. Let's get ourselves a little bit of a more brown, less red. But also still dark for the boots. No, it's still reddish brown. It's just not quite the same. Oh, what is actually different about those? It's a little bit darker in terms of like literally whiteness or brightness. I want to say it's a little less red, but not significantly. Let's restart. Let's start here. We'll do darker, and we'll do a tad less red. Yeah, I think that's getting us more in the right direction. Okay, so then thinking about boots, thinking about the physics of leather boots, because it's a complicated business, that. Doesn't need to go quite to the width of the flare on the pants. But looking, again, sort of at the bottom right image there, the way the boot is angled is going to be fairly similar to the way it is in this one. Except, of course, inverted. So I'm going to use that one sort of as our key reference here. Kind of down and then back with this reference. But of course, I'm going to need to narrow it significantly before I color fill that. And same on this end too, actually. Ah, nope. Meant to use selection add. Just a little bit, though. And then we can trim this down a little. Top of the foot won't be entirely visible, but a bit of it will be. It's gonna look a little funky until we have actual depth. Not just a tiny foot. Do want to make sure that this line here actually lines up with the boot, though, a little. So let's make sure that we're getting that with the selection pen. Straight down. Make sure that it looks like it's clearly same internal structures affecting the clothes. Same actual leg in there. Could even flare it out a little that way, just not crazy. And it's got like a little bit of a rim, which again, not an important detail right now, but helpful in visualizing how this all fits together. Okay, now same sort of deal on this one. Thinking about the legs position, thinking about the boot, thinking about the fact that it's probably still going to have some rigidity despite everything. So it's going to end up not being full flat on the ground like our initial guess, but something more like this, mayhaps. Still somewhat bent back, mind, but not quite all the way. And again, feel free to backseat the heck out of me if you see something that I'm doing wrong. That is very much welcome. I am here learning just like y'all are. We're learning by doing. And so if you know something I don't, feel free to share away, and likewise, I'll try to do the same. Okay, blocking informs a little bit, though. Continuing arms. Arms. Yipes. Arms are complicated shapes, ain't they? And it's a different tone of brown again on this one, which is interesting. I'd never quite realized how sort of, I think, intentionally not uniform the color schemes are for Thistle. That's part of the joy of when you're actually trying to do, like, art of a character, is you end up learning a lot more about said character. So this stuff is definitely, the arm leather is darker than the shirt, but it's also much less red than the boots or pants. So I'm going to just start with the sort of, not shirt, tunic tone, and try to work my way from there. I think we'll lean a little more orange. Just because when you lean too far in this area into here, you kind of get this, like, nasty, like, I don't know, baby poo green or whatever you want to call that. I think that's one of those shades that was, like, voted most unpleasant shade when they were trying to play in cigarette boxes. It's a nasty munch. So I try to stay a little more in the orange where you get some nice browns. And this is probably closer to what's actually in the reference image, too, to be honest. Although I think lightening it just a hair, Okay. So then, thinking about tunic motion, although there's not really much in terms of over the arms, so that's easy enough. We'll just try to start with basic arm position, and then we'll fill out important details from there. Okay. Because the arm obviously, the arm tapers, but it don't taper like that. There's still some amount of width in the middle. And it's not like a pinpoint when it reaches the end, unless you're a mannequin. Right, we'll get to wrist when we get to wrist. I do think we've probably got like a little bit too wide at the start. Let's try to shear that a little bit without losing the proper like angle for the force to be moving. Whoop, nope. Because the force still needs to be conveyed through the arm clearly. And if the angle is like off from that a little bit, whoops, nope. Then that's going to be very noticeable to everyone. So thinking about leaning back on your arm at this angle. I'm trying to do it now as I talk, but I'm in a chair, so that's not working too great. Kind of shoves your elbow inward almost, so it's really not quite a straight line. It's more of a, like... I'm in a rate select, aren't I? That's fine. We've got our endpoints marked. We can work between those and get where we need to go. But I'm going to go back up to the larger brush. Really more of like this. Still needs some amount of vertical straight up and down, because again, it's holding the force of the body, it's holding the weight, but it is not going to be completely straight up and down. So a little bit like that. I've expanded it a tad too wide again. Then we'll widen it there. We'll taper it here a little bit. Again, when I'm just blocking out the shapes right now, if this ends up taking like too long or ending up where we're just not getting a believable arm at any point of it, we'll actually go and do sketch lines and not just these sort of broad forms. But for now, this is what I'm sticking with because it's a little quicker to just get stuff in place. Although that's obviously like not right for so many reasons. Oh, nope, right. I don't want to move the stuff I selected, I just want to move the selection itself. But more importantly, I think that it might be easier to just have one more go at this real quick. Fresh start. Fresh start. Fresh start. Fresh enough start. Okay, and so thinking about if we've got, so this is roughly where the shoulder is hitting. It's straight line all the way down. Of course, it's still going to have to go through that straight line, but the arm itself is going to be biased a little bit towards the front. And just a hair away from the back. Just a hair, though, because it's still got the width to it that arms have. I think it's when I'm trying to add that muscle form that I'm getting thrown off. So maybe let's just do a little bit less. Whoop, wrong tool. For once I actually wanted the erase. Let's just do like a little bit of tapering off. Yeah, we'll start with that. Almost did it, but I didn't. Okay. That will do for now. For arm, although I'm realizing this is a little too dark. Let's go lighter even. Also a little too pale. We can go a tad closer to the orange realm. I'll leave it for now. It's a little off, but it works as a starting point. Thinking about the gloves, they are their own color, although they match the side bag fairly well. And the mask. And really, they're basically this color that I've just gone and done. So let's actually just throw a little bit up there so we have it for future palette. Deselect that. Again, I should actually use a proper palette for this at some point. Might be wise. Might be a little bit worth doing. Makes me think maybe we do need to move a little more towards the yellows for these other ones and line them up even a tad more. Maybe a hair less than that. It'll do. It's not ideal, but it'll do. Now, we can take this color we set aside for later, and we can pop it in here using the selection pen and not eraser. And let's see. Fortunately, we've got another excellent hand, actually a lot of very well done hands in this particular panel. But we've got one literally resting on the panel edge in the middle, so sort of off to the right there. Let's scoot this over so we can see as I attempt to do this. So just follow this diagonal line up about halfway and you'll get to it. And that's going to be fairly close to what we're looking for. Catch being I probably need it to be out a little bit more. To not hit the shoe, because you don't want it to look like they're, you know, sitting on their... Either they're bracing themselves on their own shoe, which is kind of an awkward angle, although could work. Or like they're stepping on their own hand, which is definitely not the right angle and would not work. Let's see. And if anything, in the actual reference, it's splayed out more than it is, like, in anyway. That's sort of why it works. But the weight of the hand, thumb is going to be a little towards the center, but the bulk of the hand is going to be biased in this direction. Looks like a horrible, horrible baseball glove, but it's a start. Again, while we're just sort of placing things, it's not as big of an issue. Okay, yes, thinking about where those elbow patches are. Supposed to be right on the point of the elbow, which is basically facing away from us with the way this is angled, so I'm not even sure it's going to be visible on this arm. Probably might be on the other, though. And the stick arm, not getting the proper width to actually look like it's got the baggy clothes on it. Which may be my other problem, is I'm trying to do, like, real precise, like, sort of arm, not that precise, but just some basic arm shaping that's not even necessary for the actual clothes. Thinking about the way that the clothes bag nope. Makes me think that I've drawn this arm entirely too long. Any other thoughts? I'm thinking that's the case. Just think about where that hand's gonna land. Like, the wrist is already gonna be below the waist, like, well below the waistline, standing up like this. That's, yeah, no. No, 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 no. Let's see if we can't make this look a little less like an eldritch stick monster and a little bit more like the actual character we're looking at. For starters, maybe bringing the top down a little bit. There's no reason. No. Right, we're all just on one layer. Okay. Just doing a casual quick blocking in instead of doing my like proper precise. And this is why it pays to do the proper precise method, for the record. Okay. And especially with the cloak actually going over it a little bit too, this makes sense. It'd help if I was using a different color. There we go. Okay, so you've sort of got the cloak billowing over it. Yeah, I'll do a little bit of lines in here. I think we need them to define that. At least with the way we're currently doing it. Okay, I think I'd bag this way. And we can maybe shorten it a tad. Whoops, not fill, remove. Delete. There we go. And this can still actually somewhat work. Hey, glad we saved the color. This can still somewhat work with the hand position. We just have to think about a different pose. It'd be more of like one of those, like you've got your palm arced above the ground and then actual fingers are down, like sort of down below, splayed out. Not that big, mind. Especially not under the cloak. There we go. I'm just getting rough placements here. I just want to make sure it looks like believable at all. That at least is plausibly a hand. It's clearly not a good one, but it at least is, like, you can see that it's hand-like. And then if we're really doing this arm, let's see, same shoulder point, but again, the cloak's going to cover it a little bit. We'll have to have some actual line work for that. And methinks. Elbow on the knee. Hands sort of down. And let's see, we'll do an erase select. Okay. Always got to remember that the fabric tends to bag a little bit. I'll have to think about all the alignment for that exactly. We're doing more full image, but let's see. Got this. Then I'm also going to sort of actually get the cloak going a little bit. Fill that in, make sure we've got a little pencil just to help differentiate. Pencil of a different color, mind. Yeah, somewhere in there. Okay. Then we want to make sure that this hand is basically palm at least semi-upward. And I think I'm getting a better idea for the full pose, or the full like scene, now that we've got some of this pose kind of worked out. A little haphazardly, mind, but you know. Inside. Rough positioning, obviously. Very rough in that case. And then I'm just gonna actually do a little hood pencil, looking at the way it tends to go and the way it's illustrated. I think that's realizing that I got this out a little too far. There we go. Okay. Recognizable a little more now. We can get just a rough fill-in, or the actual like deep black of inside the hood, of course. I'm going to try to roughly respect the pencil boundaries for it. That is one thing that is nice about CSP, Clip Studio Paint, which we're using now, compared to Krita, and maybe Krita had a tool for it that I didn't know. But with Krita, when I was having to do this draw and select, if you use the lasso, and then once you place it, you're kind of done. There's no tweaking and editing it, other than just like lassoing more in. And so it was really hard to fix if you lassoed something badly. And I became really paranoid of like I would always do super slow, cautious lasso movements because you'd have to get the whole outline of the shape without any mistakes. And that was not easy to do. Whoops. Okay. Forget that. Let's think about the shape of the mask. It looks like it's sort of got a point mostly at a nose, but kind of curving forward a little bit. So again, I think this is the right color for it. And maybe we show like a little bit of that edge piece over there. Let's do it. We'll tweak, because right now it just looks like it's part of the knee, which is not right. Okay. Kind of like a point. We can sort of have it going down. It does kind of just float in the void. So I don't really necessarily expect it to go quite all the way over here. Maybe we bring it in like a little sooner. Use a slightly larger line. Or, and I'll do this, I'll test this alternative in a second. It should still be like somewhat nestled in the cloak, I think. Yeah. So this one's got her sort of looking down. And we can do real quick little shape in for eyes. I love the eyes on this, the way that the artists do Thistle. They're really fun in mine. It's super expressive despite not having like a huge amount of detail and being very, even compared to the other characters, being fairly cartoonized, if that's a word, cartoony, but like in a way that's extremely expressive. They're just sort of copying them from the top scene there as a placeholder. There, I mean, that's obviously the arms need some work, but it is recognizably Thistle at least. The thing I wanted to consider though, and bear with me for a second on this because it's a little bit silly, and I don't think the physics of this are going to line up initially, so you're going to have to wait. But if we grab this, rotate up a little bit, we'll have to adjust the eyes to match, of course. But the head needs to match too. Okay, let's try that. We'll need to fill in with a little bit more black below. Not a massive amount, mind, but just a hair. And maybe even a little bit of the pencil sort of tunic hood beige. Just sort of mesh that in. There's going to be a lot more wrinkle down here. I've gone and represented shockingly badly with this pencil. That's fine. Whatever. And then, you know, maybe looking upwards instead of downwards. More of a contemplative state. You could put some thistles up higher on the wall. Kind of a thought. I feel like we need to adjust the head tilt a little more for that to work. But it's, I think, worth experimenting with. However, I'm going to do that thing I completely forgot to do last stream and actually take a break to drink some water and regroup. So I will be back in just 5 minutes, maybe a little less, and we'll pick up on this where we left off. See you then. Howdys and salutations again. We are back up and running. Sorry about the pause, but it's, recommended for one's sanity to not just completely go for many hours without moving or eating or drinking any water or anything of that nature. So I had to do a little bit of that. Now we're back up and running. I'd say Siphimir is only human, but of course the original Siphimir character, which, I mean, if anyone thought that it wasn't a D&D character originally, that I've then warped into my own online persona, then, I mean, have you been watching these streams? Have you seen how many D&D characters I've drawn already? Anyway, but, whatever Siphimir may be, perhaps we'll have to draw him a little later. For now, we're focusing on Thistle, and at the very least getting the start of some Thistle art blocked in. Proportions obviously could use a wee bit of work. Clearly I need to go back and do some more practice gesture drawings or some such. Honestly, I should be doing that anyway. We've got this up-looking pose. I kind of like the contemplative nature. I think if we want it to work, having an arm in tension kind of conflicts with the contemplative nature a little bit, just a tad. And B, I think we need the other arm, this one over the knee, to bend a little more than it's currently doing. I will say I'm not expecting to finish this piece today, or even this week necessarily, because again, we've got other plans for the 1-month anniversary on Thursday. Anywho, nothing ominous there, fear not. But until we get to that, we'll just see what we can do to get this one in good shape, in a good place. Obviously, the hand position is going to need to be a little different. This way, it does look like that knee is sort of splaying out, which is kind of weird. The arm really needs to be sort of over the knee, I guess. And of course, this arm needs to actually come out of the sleeve in the right place. Or the sleeve needs to move, which is, I think, more likely the case here. I should set up a counter or a tally or something for how many times I have used the erase select when I meant to use the normal select. It's getting just a little bit silly. Okay, so we'll sort of actually have this sort of propped up by the knee. We'll adjust tunic height to sort of match actual expectations. Tunic sleeve, I mean. Oh, well, that's the issue with... okay. We'll have to adjust the two parts of the arm again separately, but for starters, I'll move the whole darn thing. And apparently part of the leg with it, because I did kind of a sloppy grab job. That's fine. But this needs to be pointed at the shoulder joint, no matter anything else. So if we do the angle more down, then it needs to be more down. Which I'm thinking is fairly close to where it was, but again, that sort of had us with our outward pointing. So if we're going to move that up, then we need to make sure that it's pointing at the shoulder. Now that's obviously, well, obviously-ish, too far up, I would say. Perhaps here will give us what we're looking for in terms of the bent over the knee. without coming across as ridiculous or absurd. And we can just adjust the tunic to sort of match. There we go. And now the arm plausibly actually connects at the shoulder joint. The leg needs some repair work, as is... hey, that's a calligraphy pen. Let's see about actually getting some proper knee design going in here. Maybe even bumping into the arm a little bit, imply which end is closer to us. Oh, jeepers, what has happened with... Oh, right, that's what's happened with you. We can grab just like a little thin eraser. That is not a thin eraser. Clean that a little bit. Probably ought to just toss this whole bit here too, which again, shouldn't do with a tiny eraser. When you can choose the size of your eraser, choose the size that actually helps you. Advice I was bad enough about following in real life when it came to kneaded erasers, and I'm sure I'll be even worse in following when it comes to digital art. But that is a-okay. We'll get the hang of it eventually. Okay, let's see. Man, the tunic folds look really good. I don't know why I'm bungling the arms so much. So, rather than overcommitting on the arm shenanigans, because, like, why would this not go to the... No one's gonna rest, like, their forearm on their knee. That's not a way you do it. At least not hover and then down. Like, that looks weird. Point B, body is tilted a little too far forward for this up lean pose. If we're gonna do that pose, we need to adjust the angles a little bit. So the question is, do we like that pose more? Or do we prefer... Like, do we prefer the leaning down actually looking at the thistles more? Kind of... I really like the looking up, but it's going to require a little bit of rework, which is never fun. And which would have been easier if I had been smart and done this on separate layers, but I didn't, so that's where we're at. Let's just grab all of this, really. Upper body. We'll fix the arms again. We've done it once. This is too big. I knew it'd be too big when I grabbed it. I wanted it. It's the big brush. It's always fun to use the big brush. Okay, let's tilt the whole body back a bit. Make sure it's still lining up with hip positions and all. Make sure it's still lining up with a logical place in the composition. Keep our reference here. Maybe we even want to tilt and move like further back. We'll obviously have to adjust tunic and some other angles a little. Make it more of a casual pose. Let's see. Yeah, that should really still probably be connecting in the same place along the hip here. Okay, let's do that. Now maybe we can get this arm in the right place too. I think that was part of our weirdness with it. So once again, needs to point into the socket. But let's maybe only grab parts of it for now, and we'll move it pre-elbow and post-elbow. So pointing to the socket, are we good? Still needs to be able to point up enough to sort of rest on the leg. And then same deal here. Again, if we were smart, we'd do a lot of the posing and all before we began any of this sort of blocking in process. But because I just want to do sort of a quick 2 hour, I say quick, comparatively quick for fan art type thing. 2-hour little doodle, see how far we'd get. I wanted to have something that we could actually show by the end of the stream at least. And so far I think we're on the right track for that. It's, you know, not something great. It's not, we're not going to submit it at the end of the stream. We'll have to come back to it in the future. We may do that online. Maybe we'll do that offline and I'll demonstrate through it. We'll see how timing breaks out. Let's start with this with some obvious arm patching needed. As interesting as that sort of marionette effect is, it's not what we're going for. And let's go ahead and clean up a little of this too. Because that's technically the top of the other arm, which is currently morphing out from Thistle's waist, which is not ideal, I've got to say. But this will also help it avoid our soul stepping on the hand with the foot problem. I think changing the pose here is actually going to solve a lot of our problems. It'll help the pose look a little more casual, which I think is what we're going for at this point. That's more what I'm feeling out of this one. Let's see. Well, okay. Yeah, the arm angle's going to have to change anyway, so we'll have to toss our sketch work a little. Much as it looked pretty cool. Like a good tunic. I'm not sure I don't think I've made this into a better tunic. I think that made it worse. So, thinking about tunic angles, let's look at our reference a little bit, see where it pops out. There's really the belt, and then it kind of pops out from below that. So that's what we'll stick to for now. But not like with a rounded edge. The taper pops out. There we go. There we go. We'll unround that edge. We'll start with that. Let's sort of rough this arm back in. That once again we've got the issue where it's sort of bending the wrong way. Let's try that again. Let's sort of bend forward and then back a little. And then basically not gonna no. Nope. Can I move the focal point? Yeah, but that's not helpful. Okay. Then I'm gonna try to clear it out as best as I can. Hand pose is not gonna be the same. Yeah, I guess the arm's gonna need to be a little longer for the hand to go down. That's okay. I want to figure out its relative position to the tunic first. And then, nope, not quite. Because there's that little flare of tunic that comes out over it. We sort of got to make sure that we're getting that right. I got the belt going too, so this should really probably come in like that, shouldn't it? And that's what our tunic should be doing. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, some stuff is easier figured out with line work, I'll be honest. Whoops, nope. The opposite of that. But again, there is something much more fun about just jumping into it and doing the blocking. At least on occasion. Like if it's been a long day, which it has been. I almost just did Stardew today, I'll be honest. As fun as that is, like I didn't want to do Stardew's Day Tuesday 2 weeks in a row if I can help it. Because while it's fun, it's not improving the art skills, which is sort of the goal here. Not just my own mind. I'm hoping that we can all get better at the art skills as we go at this. But if every time I'm tired I shirk the art skills, I'm never gonna... A, I'm never gonna get better at them, and B, I'm never gonna start to think of them as more relaxing, which is kind of part of the point. Like, naturally I don't... Like, if I'm tired, my brain doesn't go, let's make art. My brain goes, let's... Well, my brain goes, let's go burn 6 hours on YouTube, but I turn it down on that pleasant offer because that never seems to go well. Instead, instead we try to, you know, like rest or theoretically read a book or what have you. Do something relaxing. But digital art is never the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm hoping to change that because that, A, that'll help make it more of a habit, and B, I do enjoy this. It is relaxing. I don't know why I don't think of it. Like, I'm feeling better now than I did at the start of this stream. I feel like streaming is supposed to make you tired, but I definitely feel more awake at the end of each one we do. Okay. Note to self, should not be doing like detailed line work on any of this yet, maybe ever. But I can't not, especially because I really like sort of the shadow highlight that this has inadvertently created around the wrinkles. It's kind of a really cool effect that I want to explore more in the future. But for now, I'm just going to be adding a little character to some of this. I really ought to be more like that. Nope, it's not quite, it's not that bent, mind. There we go, something like that. Ah, that's the issue, because I'm on a normal layer. Keep forgetting that. Normal raster layers are not where I'm accustomed to being, and while they're very helpful, occasionally they throw me off a little, because they obviously don't work like vector layers. So if we're doing a crouch back like this, then rather the arm being under tension, it may actually be a little more relaxed, in which case we should really be bending this the other way. So let's scoot this over a little. Let's maybe rethink once again how we're doing it for the umpteenth time on this arm. That's fine. Let's scooch the hand over, and you know, honestly, let's just toss the hand. We can do a new hand, and by hand I mean glove. We'll just do like a little simple small one down here. Again, something basically sort of splayed out like that, and then thumb over here. Kind of like those. They sort of imply a gap between fingers. You know, honestly, I'm not as sold on them as I was. But maybe if we just smooth over some other edges so they look intentional. Okay. We'll just do that for now. There, a hand. And then this one, if I really want it to actually even look like it's casually holding anything, the thumb's going to need to be on the other side. Of course, the angle relative to the knee is still stinking terrible on that. Part of that is with this new pose, this knee is a little too abruptly vertical. Let's scooch this around a little. Just keep on adjusting until this looks as casual as it's supposed to. Wish I could put this behind. But I didn't do it on layers, even though I shoulda. This is the joy of digital. One of the main benefits of, well, I say main, a huge benefit of digital art is layers. They're wonderful gifts. One of the things that you just can't really do unless you're feeling very creative and you have a bit of a shopping spree when it comes to tracing paper. And even then, the results there are not going to be of the same caliber as just doing it on here normally. Let's just smooth this out so it actually looks like a leg, mind. Um, let's adjust the tunic. I think it's, with the new pose, the angle's gotten a little weird. Still a little weird. Mind. Let's mind that a little bit. Clear this one out. Be plausible. Try that maybe? No. Okay, I should actually think about. I'd worked out the physics of this well before I worked out the physics of anything else. And now that everything else has moved around a little, its physics aren't really making sense anymore. We'll tweak it a little more. And we'll think about the fact that this should really continue going down. And if there's an arc, it's going to be something like down here, not way up there. Nope. This color, please. There we go. Okay. And we'll just scooch that on in there. And boom, that's already looking, I don't know, not correct, but a lot less bad. No. Here's my lazy lines. Like this. No, not a chop into the leg. I perhaps need to practice with these tools a little more. But that is, after all, basically what we're doing now. So, and we'll think about the fact that the tunic in the front is actually two separate parts, and so that's going to affect the physics a lot when we're doing like a more final version of this. So I'm going to stop fidgeting with that, and instead address the fact that this is all now looking pretty good. This arm is still a problem, and I'm of a mind to just toss it and start over. Also, to change the angle of this boot a little bit first, actually. Because since this arm's been giving us so much trouble, I want to kind of figure everything else out. And then we can sort of fix everything relative to it. No. Let's also just move this down a little bit. Hello, Erase Select Pen. Always good to see you. Why do you show up uninvited so much? Or rather, why do I keep inviting you to the party? Sometimes the Erase Pen's a good friend. Otherwise, we wouldn't invite him anymore. But today, I've been summoning him at just all the wrong times. There we go. That's... knee might be a little too high. Maybe that's the issue. That may be the issue with the tunic and with the arms angle, is our knee is too high. We can clear this out at least. Maybe if we just like zip out a section here. The other part would be under the tunic, so we're not going to see it. Except in any potential changes to the tunic folds that come from this. And we'll just scooch this on down. Doop-a-doo. Okay, okay. Guess we are going to see it in the tunic a little bit then, because here's some fairly obvious tunic changes. We'll grab the color, and then we'll, you know, maybe try to, I know I've said this a few times already, but once we get the arm in place, I'm going to try to stop futzing about with all this. That's a fun word. Hi. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Whoops, did not mean to grab that. Okay, well, it's a start. Again, if I'm just trying to block in basic positions, A, why am I adding so much detail? But B, I should stop messing with that part. You'd think I could remember what color was on my brush. It is stored right up there on the side of the screen within easy view. Whoop. But no matter. Okay. Unimportant little detail here, but I think toe might be visible. And then we'll just have to think about, relative to the planter box, what that's going to mean once we get to the planter box, which we may move around Thistle once we've got sort of our focal points sorted out. Okay. Funky looking foot. Let me sharpen that a little. Yeah. Now let's fix this. Let's see if we can't get this to look halfway decent. And so first off, we're tossing the old arm. Come on. Not the hand necessarily, but probably as well by the end of this. Goodbye. Actually, yeah, let's just blast the hand too. Goodbye. Okay, so thinking about where we want this to be. If we're trying to do something casual. Maybe like that. Yeah, maybe that's the way. Pardon my yawn. I am sorry about that. And that puts elbow believable. Nope. The knee's in a believable place too. Could kind of have some thistle in hand. We'll see. Or we could even be slightly less on the nose with the characterization. But where's the fun in that? Arm a little wider at one end. Not too wide though, mind. Okay. I know I'm not talking too much this stream. We haven't really got any new concepts or ideas that we're going through. And I've sort of already talked about Thistle more than I should because I don't want to spoil anything about her character. She's a really fun character. So we'll clear some of this out. Let's think about our wrist location. Maybe we actually do sort of thumb like that. Closed around something perhaps. We could nab some of the Thistle. Eyedropper? I don't want the transparency of the background. I just want the actual color of it. Oh, fine. Locking forms. Kind of get this green. We'll loop a vine down through here. Maybe be falling out even. Nothing too crazy. Doesn't really look like a thistle vine, but what have you. And man, that arm looks better than the previous ones, and I just did it in like 30 seconds. Yeah, because that's actually a good trick. Is if something's looking wrong, and obviously the arm's still got some issues, but it's better. Everything needs to be in proportion with everything else in the scene. So if it's looking wrong, it may be either that it's at the wrong location or size compared to something near it, or something around it is in the wrong place. Like the knee being way too high was part of the reason that the arm was always sticking up way too high. Or in this case, the arm's looking a bit long, but part of that is because we haven't properly put the tunic over it yet. We can do that and see if that helps it a little bit. Not to hide the proportions, but because if you're expecting it to be under the tunic, your brain sort of accounting for that already, and so it's like, whoa, there's an awful lot of arm past the tunic. Even so, it's a little long. Like, we could probably stand to bring it over a tad. Nope, grabbed the wrong color. We could just fill this in back with this color of the legs. Fill that. And the angle now looks off, but the length of the arm isn't looking quite as bad. How did I resize that to be so big? Which accidental shift did that? Nah. Okay. Well then. So, let's see, I've got a thought. I think that this is probably a good sort of, like, roughed in thistle for now. I don't know that I've got the mental brain power to keep it up. I think it might be a good point to take a break and look at this one fresh on another day. So, I'm considering, why don't we think about just doing a single round of Stardew Valley tonight? You know, we've gotten some good art practice. We've actually learned a few new, like, a little bit more about the tools. I kind of like this blocking in shapes method, but it might be good to have a better thought out posture. Like, make sure we've got a final idea for the pose first before we use it in the future. That way we don't keep messing around with the existing pieces and sort of moving them back and forth. So, I'm thinking that unless anyone has any suggestions for other things we ought to work on with this today, feel free to contribute, feel free to backseat. If you see something that I'm totally missing that's botched on this, feel free to huck that my way. But obviously no pressure, you don't have to. I ain't your school teacher. You're not going to get a bad grade for not participating. However, I do think that maybe we'll be wrapping up the art for today. We'll do one day of Stardew, and then we'll call it there. So I am going to pause stream for a second. I'll update the stream elements and get that set up. Oh, but if anyone wasn't here at the start, actually let me do explain what this drawing is for. The wonderful comic, I'm throwing the link in the chat now, Daughter of the Lilies, has asked for some fan works to help fill in the gaps while they're catching up on a work backlog. And while I don't think that ours will be selected for any of that, I mean, they've got a ton of phenomenal artists in the community, and the comic itself, which you can see the reference image sort of off to the right of the screen here, is an absolutely wonderful comic. You should go check it out. It's a little dark at times, but it's very well written, and you fall in love with the characters immediately. I won't spoil anything. We're currently drawing some art of Thistle, who's one of the characters, a really fun one. But I'd advise, if you want to learn more about Thistle, if you want to learn more about the scene, the action that's going on in the middle of that reference image, go actually check out the comic. It's phenomenal, by Meg Siv and I believe Yoko Weaver. They do some great stuff. So I'm going to go on a pause screen view for just a second, and then we will see you back in a few. Okie dokie, and we're... Whoa, Stardew, what you doing? Well, I'd say we're back, but it looks like Stardew's decided that it wants to wander off the screen a little bit. Let's, see if we can't fix that. There we go, there we go. Okay. So, thank y'all for bearing with me, and again, you should absolutely go check out Daughter of the Lilies if you haven't already. It's a phenomenal comic. But in the meantime, we're going to pick up where we left off on Stardew, which it looks like was day 9 of spring. So, with Siphimir. For any of you who've stuck around for a while, you may have seen my character Salt before. That was the next save file. It's a little further along. That's the one I play in my free time. Although, really, to be honest, when I first played Stardew with different characters, I actually found it horribly stressful. I basically panicked and gave up on the game. Which I know Stardew has this reputation of being just the most, like, calm, wonderful, like, easygoing game. Super relaxing, and like, no, I was so stuck on trying to optimize it, on trying to blast through the mines, and like, I just was constantly passing out at night and losing resources and money, trying to get back in time. It was a nightmare. So instead of that, ooh, fishing rod. That's actually a good purchase. The fishing minigame is kind of agonizing until you've got the fish bait to make it go faster. And there we go, it's back on screen now. Oh, good. Could get a well from Robin, but we've got a water source right here right now, so I'm not going to worry about it. And that's a lot of money early game. But, let's see. Yes, on the fishing rod. But, once you get the rod with bait, it takes a little more money than I think we've got right now with our 190 gold. But once you've got it, actually, let's check the luck today before we go too far. Maybe it's a good mining day. But yeah, once you get the rod, the fishing minigame actually becomes fun, because it doesn't take 3 weeks between every bite. Neutral? Okay, I'll take it. Weather report. Hey, tomorrow's a rainy day too. Now that's lovely. Okay, other thing I didn't know about... Wait, those are worms. I must have you, worms. Zoom. Ah, it's just a rock. Okay, now we've got to clean this up. Good use of energy, I stand by it. Okay, let's make our way upwards through the forests. Yeah, we picked the forest farm. Kinda like having the extra, like, hardwood resources around in the future. Seemed like it would be handy. More worms! What secrets do you hold? Worms! 2 rocks! Maybe the next one will give me 3 rocks. Woohoo! Exciting times we're living in Stardew. But I didn't know about this north route, so I was cutting through town and like past our little community center and everything every time getting back from the mine, and so it was awful. I think, you know, I might need this in the mine, but let's give it to best guy Linus. There you go. I stand by that. Linus is my favorite character in this game. You can fight me. However, if you don't want to fight me, that is fine too. We can just all agree that Linus is the best, because it's obvious and self-evident. Okay, not gonna worry about any of this stuff in here. Let's just get on down there. Oh, we're already on 15? Dang, the heck am I doing? Oh, there's probably the stinking buzzy bee things in the mine on this level. Yeah, there are. They're the stinking maggoty doodads. Oh, well. I guess I ought to check if there's a ladder down there. Maybe I can beat it before it goes into untouchable mode. Okay, good. Good. But there's not a ladder here. So, we're just going to keep on going down. Down. So yeah, actually, just to keep on the note of Daughter of the Lilies, since that's where this stream started. Ooh, free copper. Definitely highly recommend it. It's a very fun comic, and if you want to find out a little more about Thistle's actual... Oh, jeepers, the music. Give me a second. Actually, I don't know if y'all can hear the Stardew music, so maybe that's fine for y'all. If the audio is a horrible nightmare, I do apologize. It certainly is for me, but I don't think it is for y'all. And the cave music should stop soon. Lovely as it is, not the best time for it. But yes, Thistle. You'll note that she's got the hooded cloak on in the art that we're drawing to avoid spoilers. But there's absolutely, like, they waited a long time in the comic to reveal Thistle's actual appearance for a number of story reasons, but that meant that once they finally did it, they revealed all of their favorite, like, of the fan guesses as to what it was and like what Thistle looked like, and they're phenomenal. They're so fun. It's absolutely a blast looking through those. So I recommend, like, read the comic and then spend some time looking at all the fan theories that were presented on there, because some of them are hysterical. Some of them are also really cool. It's a real mix. Interesting. I don't think I've ever gotten a chewing stick. Oh, well, that's convenient. Okay, let's work our way down. And keep getting this copper. But yeah, absolutely 100% recommend reading it. It's a really fun read. Also, if anyone else has any comic suggestions or like other ideas, I read a ton of too many webcomics, like 200 webcomics. If you have any suggestions, feel free to throw those in chat. I am always looking for more. They're all an endless source of art inspiration for styles and such. Endless sort of inspiration for, like, seeing people talk about their mind, how they do. Uh-oh, stinking Buzzy Bee. Think about their workflows. Oftentimes, a lot of the artists on indie webcomics are a lot more willing and able to discuss, like, their process. This is horrible. But, like, so yeah, I absolutely love reading new webcomics. Whether it's webtoons, whether it's is it Topa? No, I'm thinking Tapas. Or just independent websites. There's always some good ones there. Top Webcomics has some interesting stuff. Although their rating system, while helpful, is a little dubious at times. Yeah, always open for more suggestions. 100% of the time. I've got a whole bunch I'd recommend. I know we've done Harpy G a little bit on here. Really, really fun one, that. I recommend Sleepless Domain is good. Kiwi Blitz is also a lot of fun, but I think it's currently on hiatus, or at least on slow burn, which nothing wrong with that. It just means that there's still quite the archive to read, so I'd recommend that one too. What are some other good ones I can throw out there? Because there's so many wonderful webcomics out there. Oh, Buzzy Bee. Buzzy Bee, you always know how to bring my days down. Ah. I assume you're not actually a bee. Like some horrible dragonfly wasp nightmare. Because I like dragonflies. You've got the cool 4-wing thing going, but then you're horrible. So. Ooh, okay, there's some good music. Get some Spamton energy in here. Ooh. Oh, this is bad. Buzzy Bee Mania. Do I just leave? Do I hope there's a ladder? Do I just leave? Do I hope there's a ladder? I think I just leave. I think we're just gonna bail on this nonsense immediately, because they're doing so much damage. Goodbye. We will try that again some other day. I'll have to come back for these. Worms. Curses. I need the worm grabber. Come on, worm grabber. I'd probably just leave the sword here, couldn't I? Anyway, worms, what are your secrets? 3 stone! The prophecy is fulfilled! I can't believe that's actually what we got from that. Will the next one be 4 stone? Let's find out. Let's go up, actually. Maybe we'll find more worms on the northern route. Worms, give me your secrets. What are you hiding? Why do you store books and ancient artifacts and other useful items with you? Are you bookworms, by chance? Terrible pun. I will openly admit that was not my best work. Okay, plants are looking good. Then maybe it's time for some deforestation once I go get my tools. Actually, real quick, I did... Oh, have I not even done... Okay, the spring crops bundle, sure, that makes sense. Okay, good, we got this one. That's the one that you want to get early, so you can get the seeds from it early. I guess that's probably what we have planted all over the place. Okie dokie. Then I think we'll do a little bit of tree chopping on this fine day. Heyo, Linus. I'd talk to you if the game would let me, but you can only talk to people once a day. Blast. Sebastian out by chance? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Well, let's get the rest of our stuff from the mine. Frog! Goodbye, frog. Saw an actual toad or frog the other day. Fun times. Charming little critters. Yeah, I'm leaving the sword there. By charming, I mean it sat there and did literally nothing. And then I just took a picture of it. So very photogenic. Excellent, excellent model. Best one I could ever ask for. Okay, but let's see on this game. It's, well, it may be a little obvious that even if not in-game, in real life, I am a tad behind on my sleep today. It's been an eventful day. Got some busy deadlines at work, you know, the usual stuff. At least it's good work. It's an enjoyable job. Ha! No. I've been tricked by that quest before. I ain't doing it again. The quest helpfully does not mention that you need to retrieve new copper, and so if you have copper stockpiled, it doesn't count towards it. I've wasted so much time on that one. And Clint closes his shop super early on a lot of days. And it's... I hate that quest. And it's always just enough copper to be, like, inconvenient. Like, it's not enough to be like, oh, like, that's impossible and give up on it right away. It's just like, oh, I might be able to get that. And then it's just... it takes forever. I may have a little too much personal vendetta against that one specific quest, but I really don't like it. Okay. But enough about that quest. We're here to ruin a forest, and so that's what we're going to do. But I'm only ruining the forest far away from my path. Wow, stealth bushes. They don't want me to ruin the forest. Okay, northern forest. Let's see what we can nab up here. It's kind of fun getting into a rhythm on the wood chopping. Because if you just click as fast as you can, it's actually really slow because the cooldown doesn't line up well. But if you can get just the right timing, it's like a little bit faster. Oh no. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. Ah, there we go. Missed the last one. Oh good. Secret tree. There we go. And, oh, I keep missing the last hit. Easy to get a 9 chain, not so easy to get 10, I suppose. Oh, my energy's running low. I'm going to eat some dandelions. So that's a great idea, kids. Please do not just randomly eat dandelions you find on the ground, for goodness sake. Okay, let's see. Fun fact, I'm pretty sure I can just plop this down anywhere there's dirt. So yeah, we'll just throw some seeds around. I said we're destroying the forest, but not permanently. Just for a little while. Wizard's view is going to be not great. Hopefully he'll forgive us for that. Wonder if he even looked out the window much, or if he's all focused on the inner studies. If it's anything like me in school, it's very much the latter. It's like, if there's an outdoor world, eh. That's not entirely true. There was a lot of fun stuff in the outdoor. Ah, heck yeah, it was a silver, so I could pick it up. Let's see, 840, we're doing okay on time. I can't pick that one up, though. And the other stuff in my inventory is probably more valuable. Let's grab another tree. Zoop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okie dokie. You know, if I'm able to plant all of these around the edge of the lake, then I'll be able to pick up that dandelion. Waha! Evil plan comes to fruition. But actually first let me chop down the tree near it, so if it drops more seeds I can plant those. This is what I mean about this game. It encourages optimization, like, and I have to be careful to actually just relax and do it. Heck yeah, all the hits, perfect timing. Although, you know what's way worse than this game about that? Heckin' Animal Crossing. I think Animal Crossing is designed to be a stress simulator. Oh, crud. Okay, I should stop messing around then. Oh, and it's getting late in-game and real life. Uh-oh. Plant. Plant. Attain dandelion. Attain dandelion! Eat dandelion immediately. Okay. Still not entirely sure the logic of eating dandelions to regain energy, but I'll trust the game on it. I feel like they'd be very, like, fuzzy and nasty and terrible, to just eat one off the ground. I mean, I guess maybe the flowers or the leaves are different. I don't even know if they're edible. Like, can you eat a dandelion? Is that, like, a terrible idea? I honestly haven't the faintest. Okay, but the farm's looking good. I think we'll get some good crop hauls soon. And again, what we're beelining for, because I do have a little bit of knowledge of the game, not a ton, mind, but a little, is trying to be able to buy as much, or as many, I believe it's strawberry bush seeds as possible at the festival coming up later in the month, in-game. So I'm going to try to just absolutely harvest as much as I can, and the goal is that all these will grow up before or right before the festival, not the hospital. Jeepers. Only if the plans go horribly wrong do they grow right before the hospital. But assuming they all grow right before the festival. Wow, I really can't talk today. No matter. As long as that happens, then we'll be able to get a nice haul, and those will blossom before the end of the season, and they're just a phenomenal resource. They're really great. Like I said, optimization, but also they're actually fun to grow. Unlike some of the others where it's optimizing and you're like, well, I guess I just won't touch any of the other plants. You can plant those because you only get them once. You still have plenty of time to sort of mess around and do all the other plants you want to do too. So they don't lock out other paths just by being too optimal. Which is good. That's how I prefer it. Also, I should get my character to bed. I'll go ahead and sort inventory for next time. Do a nice little deed for myself. And we'll wrap it. And I'll poke my head out to see if we have mail. Get a little sneak preview the next day. Doesn't look like it. No plants blooming either. So yep, it may be another mining day. Maybe we'll get to the bottom that time. But that's not for tonight. It is coming up on 10 o'clock, and whoo boy, am I exhausted. It's been a good time. Good week, busy week, fun times, tiring times. That's how it goes. Honestly, being tired from being busy is good. Being tired from being bored is the worst. So this is infinitely better. Now remember, like I said at the beginning, we started this stream doing Daughter of the Lilies fan art. I'm going to throw that in chat one more time. Absolutely go check the comic out. It's a blast. We will continue that art, but we're not going to be continuing it on Thursday. We'll look into a Saturday stream potentially, but I can't make any promises. However, definitely on Monday, we will continue that. However, on Thursday, it will officially be our 1-month anniversary of streaming. So, brand new time. Not brand new time, but brand new idea. And I've got a little interesting something I've been toying with that you'll have to come back and check out then. But let's just say that I think it's about time that we really explore the depths of character design. Not just like tweaking existing ones, but I'm saying we're going to build one from scratch. So drop by on Thursday, and we're going to do a new character of the month, and if it works, maybe we'll even do a new character every month. We'll see. We'll see about that. Can't promise that for sure, but here's hoping. I'm looking forward to it. I've gathered up a few interesting word prompt generators, some interesting ideas to throw together. We'll see if we can't get something that's seasonally appropriate. That way we can have a little fun with it. And we'll see if we can get our mascot for August going. I think that'd be a bit of fun. So, 1-month stream anniversary coming on Thursday. I'm happy we've made it this far. And even if I'm tired today and I didn't quite nail the digital art, I know, and yesterday's perspective dream, whoo boy, not dream, stream, although it felt more like a dream in that my mind was all over the place. But yeah, but we're despite a few rough ones, we're gonna keep on going. Still having a good time with this. And it has been an absolute blast. I'm getting more drawing practice than ever, and hopefully y'all are learning a little something with me along the way. So yeah, we're gonna keep at this. Keep on keeping on with it, and I look forward to hopefully. Well, I don't want to put pressure on you. If you want to drop by next time, I will certainly look forward to seeing you then. If you don't, I hope you have a good time on wherever your adventures on the internet take you. So with that. Um, Best until next time. Or, if I don't see you again, best just full stop. Have a good one, y'all. Good night.